transformational coaching roadmap. Well, what it is you sitting in Roman numeral 1 up here using the roadmap where the coach initiates this. The idea is to get on the same page with either a direct report or a peer and work through to a commitment for change, an action commitment that both can support. The second application is how might you use the same process to coach your boss, coach up to your manager. Then the third application of the same roadmap, it's interesting how it can be used in lots of different applications, is to coach an entire team. I know you have staff meetings, and you've got chances to sit down and share information with the whole staff and have kind of a coaching conversation with the team. Sometimes you may have heard of this as called team coaching. Well, the way that I advocate that can be done is to engage the team in use of the same process that you might have learned, because we'll walk you through how you can actually teach them the process and then use it as a guide to shape and organize and conduct the coaching conversation with the entire team. So it's kind of team dialogue. So that's the first thing we're going to be working on, is the actual coaching roadmap. We'll spend maybe 40% of our first morning, maybe half of our first morning, just walking through the simulations and the role plays there. A couple more things we're going to do. Roman numeral 4, I'm on page 15. The feedback only process is where you just notice something, you want to pass it along as feedback. You don't necessarily need to. It says no use of forwarding the action is necessary. They will know what to do with this if they have the information. It's like someone giving you a tip or a clue or an idea, something that you may not have noticed. So the idea is you just check in with the purpose of passing on something, learning or an insight. This just basically just feedback, doesn't go on to the coaching piece. Coaching shorthand, you're going to love the Roman number 5, because I know in the up-tempo, highly focused, energetic, lots of things to do, call center environment you work in, delivering coaching in a very shorthand way is going to be a vital skill. You're probably using something like this already, but this is the simple process of using a single statement to deliver appreciative feedback. Or if you've got an idea you want to pass on as a change based on something you've seen, you don't need to deliver the feedback. You can go right straight to the suggestion. So in this case, you frame as a suggestion. I think you could be even more effective if you tried this, boom, 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 and lay it out there. So that is a skill we'll practice. You'll find this one of wide application and lots of situations to use it, I'm sure. Then problem-solving coaching. This is where you'll, as a coach, will practice this one for sure as well, where you're going to focus on not responding with an answer. You see someone comes up, well, he just doesn't actually say this, but what happens is you've got direct reports or a sales agent, somebody you work with comes up and says, hey, I got a problem with this, boss, what should I do? Well, you have a choice. You can give them the answer, or you can say, well, help me understand what you're trying to achieve. What's the goal here? And then, why is this important to you right now? So you basically work through asking learning questions to tap the wisdom and have the coachee end up being really focused on their action commitment, their next step. So it's a powerful, powerful process where you basically focus on not delivering feedback, but you focus on asking questions. Then the last thing we'll do as we end our workshop day together will be the after-action review. It's a coaching debrief using real-time feedback. You're going to, as a team, see how this works so that you can then use this with your teams and your staff meetings in terms of how things are going, taking the pulse, looking at how you can make things better. So that's our agenda. We're going to try to get through all of those during the day. The reason I'm going to pause on page 17 in your workbook with this slide is just for this. It kind of tees up what we're there for in terms of one aspect we're going to be using. I mentioned we'll be practicing real situations. The homework and continuous preparation will be for you to write up what is a coaching situation that you'd like to use as a practice during the session on the 28th. Well, I'll walk you through that page in the workbook where it is. It's toward the back. The idea here is you'll have a practice partner who they'll do a role play. They'll become your coachee, and you're going to be the coach in your situation. So for you, it's a simulation. You're simulating a real conversation you'd like to hold with somebody that you really work with. And you have someone actually standing in for them as a surrogate and being your coachee. Here's the deal. This can't be done safely unless everyone is willing to respect confidences. What is said here, particularly about a person, stays here. The call center is a defined universe. You probably know many or most people who work there. So the point is this: if you learn something about Sally or Sam, You don't take it back to Sally or Sam. You let the manager that you're working with as their coachee doing the simulation, you let them take that on, and you let them sit down and have that conversation. It's not your job. That'd be gossip. That'd be a dysfunctional use of information and potentially very harmful. So we want you to be aware of respecting confidences when you do these simulations. That's what that's there for. And it's worthy to mention right now, because I want you to pick a situation that is not extraordinarily sensitive when you write this up, so you can use that to practice the skill, the coaching practice during the workshop. You want to pick something that's not a particularly sensitive, maybe compensation or HR issue that you'd have to really, it needs to be completely held between you and them, or you and them and HR. So pick something that's about day-to-day performance, tardiness, the way that they don't press their customers on the call, the way they didn't really take care of it, the way they didn't follow the protocol, things that they may or may not have done very well. That's what this is about. It's about a performance issue, the kinds of things you deal with. All we want you to do is pick a real one for you, so when you're practicing this, it's the most relevant it possibly can be. That's our intention. Okay. I'll cover that later. Why do we address culture? Part of what I do in my work, and the way I frame this, I'm on page 19, is my work is to help bring coaching inside of an organization so it becomes part of the culture. It's a staple. It's part of how we do things around here. So let's take a few minutes and do a little bit more setting. Then we'll look at the role of leadership in this whole process, or the human case for coaching, and then we'll maybe end our session a little bit early. Do I hear cheering? Yes, I think I do. Okay, here we go. Here's the big idea. Time Warner Cable and any other place you've ever worked can be broken down as an organization into these three parts. You have a strategy, right? And you would have in your role, you probably have a good, clear understanding of your strategy in your marketplace, how to make your services distinctive from your competitors. You have a structure, how you're organized, very organizational forms, the way the call center is organized in terms of reporting relationships, and then all the tools you use that enable communications, analysis, debriefing, execution of the strategy. You have a structure. Well, the third thing you also have, and you've talked about it, there's a culture initiative underway as I understand it, is about working on the culture, working with the culture. Let's shape our culture, because it's made up of attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors, and relationships. Those are the key elements that really make up the norms, if you will, norms and customs of the culture. What I do in my work is help bring coaching into the culture so it becomes part of how we do things around here. I see the, yay, thank you for cheering the getting out a little bit early. I am reading those things as they do come in, so don't hesitate to put something in there you want to share. I'll skip this next slide and go right directly to this one. Why culture is so darned important? Well, beyond how we do things around here, who creates it, who sustains it? You folks on the phone. It's those that are formal and informal leaders in the organization. How do you do this? It's by the words and actions. You're a role model, whether you want to be one or not. It's the tone, pace, and expectations you set. That is the best way to kind of get a handle on what's our culture truly like. Well, we'll talk more about that when we get together on 28th, but I'll touch on this, why it's so important, because it does this. It shapes and it focuses energy. Think of everybody you work with, all your agents, all your colleagues who come into work, all the resources you have in terms of people that work there. Everyone is a bundle of energy. You've got so much energy. You've got discretionary energy that you can bring to your job. When you walk in the door, you're either energized or you're not, right? And you know what it's like to have good days and not so good days. Everybody has them. Point is, if we work at creating the culture where it's the place where people can engage and have fun and be successful, and you have the best people, it's a great place to work, then they'll be more engaged with you. You'll have more leverage in terms of the results you're trying to create, because people, the culture, is absolutely dedicated and committed to making the strategy happen, reaching the goals. I think culture is so important. I've been doing culture change work for about 22 years now, It is a leading indicator of organizational performance. You want to understand what makes a company successful. Strategies come and go. Lots of companies have more or less the same strategy, right? And your products and services don't necessarily differentiate you in many, many industries and segments. What differentiates you is the people, the way they're committed, the way they're excited, the way they're passionate about what they do. Does this make sense? And that says yes. You could say yes. You could give me feedback on that. Does that make sense? That this level of commitment, this level of passion is what absolutely makes a difference in performance of the organization. So your job as a coach is, how do you marshal that? How do you focus it? How do you shape and focus the energy that's there? That's essentially the job of leadership. Yes, it does. Very well. Glad to pass on the things that I think will help you even better frame your job, understand the role of leadership and where coaching fits in. Because as a coach, you're shaping, as it says, shaping and focusing energy. That's really what you're doing. That's really what you're doing. So how do you do this? Well, if you don't do this, this is what happens. I'm going to skip to this, one of my favorite pictures, whole slide deck. If you consider the cultural gorilla, it's at least 800 pounds, could be 1,200, I don't know. It's a big guy, right? The point is, this cultural gorilla is going to have its way with all things strategic. Have you ever noticed the fact that if the culture doesn't like something, if the culture doesn't embrace it, if the culture, that's people's minds, the way they think about it, the way they embrace it, the way they support it, the way they get excited about it, whatever the it is, that if they're not on board, it doesn't work. The change initiative falls flat. The thing just, we change, we go to different flavors of the month, we're on to something else, we never follow through, we don't get things done. But this culture, this is everybody's hearts and minds and passion they bring to it. If that's not worked with and understood and cultivated, the care and feeding of the culture, if you will, care and feeding of people, then things don't work well. Mergers don't get all the results they could. Change initiatives, new product launches that you're launching there in your call center, those things that you introduce as new features, etc. If people don't get it, understand it, and can't talk about it, and don't believe in it, I think that's key. It just does, it kind of falls flat. So the idea is that these are some of the reasons why leaders really need to pay attention to the culture that you're shaping. Here's something you can actually do some more typing on. Here's my main hypothesis. If we integrate coaching into your existing Time Warner Cable culture at the call center where you work, make it very specific, you will tend to get more of the results you want if you have coaching in place. And you'll get less of the things that you don't want. Why? Because you tend to get what you coach to. If you can coach to something that's frivolous or ineffective or harmful or disrespectful, coach them from that to something that you'd want to see, more listening, more respect, more sensitivity, more caring, more follow-through, etc., you will be absolutely ensured of having a better chance, at least, at achieving that result. So first type in, on the question pane, name some things in your culture that you don't want. You'd like to see stopped. You'd like to see eliminated, minimized at the very least. What are the cultural things that get in the way of you getting results with your teams, with the agents that you have the privilege of leading? Type in some things there and hit reply. Separation, yeah, separations are very difficult, and I'm not sure exactly what all that means by separation, but negativity, for sure, I understand that one. Separation, negativity, poor communications, ineffective, communications, too little, too late. There's all kinds of things that across the culture will absolutely divide the culture, keep it from being connected, keep it from being focused. They get in the way. They're inhibitors. Having a plan and getting pulled somewhere else that was not planned. Yep, first go left, now go right, now go left again. Lack of respect, negativity. Thank you.